Hi everyone, welcome back to CAUSINDY Talk. I'm your host Desrina. Today we are thrilled to take a deep dive into the upcoming CAUSINDY 2024 conference. This year's conference titled Advancing Higher Education and Research Collaboration held in Perth, Australia this November. It will be a platform for young leaders from both Indonesia and Australia to connect and forge the future of our bilateral relationship. But before we jump in, let's give warm welcome to our special guest today, the newly appointed CEO of CAUSINDY, Jake Turvey. Welcome, Jake. Apa kabar?
Hi, Des. Kabar baik. Great to be here.
Yeah, please briefly introduce yourself, Jake.
Sure. So I'm a public health researcher here at the University of Notre Dame, and a Perth boy born and raised, and been part of the CAUSINDY team for going on 4 years now.
Okay, thanks, Jake. Jake brings a wealth of experience in public health research and international development, particularly in the Indo-Pacific region. Let's dive and learn more about Jake's background and his vision for CAUSINDY. For our listener, don't forget to follow CAUSINDY on social media for the latest conference update at CAUSINDY on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can also find all the details on our website at www.causindy.org. So Jake, can you tell us a bit about your journey and your experiences in public health research and international development?
Yeah, sure. So I guess it all kind of started at university. I was originally studying a double degree in psychology and law. When I picked up a broadening unit or an elective unit in public health. And I guess from there, I kind of really fell in love with the topic and the subjects. And I just loved the mix of kind of numbers and maths and sociology. And from that point, I kind of switched my degree. I dropped the psychology and focused on studying public health for the rest of my undergrad. And after that, I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to go study in India on a public health study tour for about 2 to 3 weeks. And I guess from there is when it really evolved into a love for international development and global health and working within that sector. That trip kind of really expanded my knowledge about the health issues facing the Indo-Pacific region. And I guess I really fell in love with global health from that point onwards. So then I came back to Perth. I finished my public health degree, and around that time, I was offered an opportunity to study abroad in Yogyakarta with the teachers. And from there, I haven't looked back. I guess that's the start of my Indonesia journey, I guess.
Yeah. So we heard you previously live and study in Indonesia. So how did your experience at Gadjah Mada University shape your understanding of the Australia-Indonesia relationship?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it was really transformative for me. Before going to Jogja, I knew nothing about Indonesia, basically. I mean, like all Australians, I'd been to Bali on a holiday. I knew where Jakarta was, but that was about it. I didn't speak any of the language. I even had to Google Yogyakarta because I didn't even know where it was or what there was to do there. So going there, I was a bit anxious and a bit nervous going into this brand new country, brand new city. But from my first day there, I kind of fell in love with Indonesia. It was very transformative in the sense that it really opened my eyes to Indonesia and how diverse it is. I met some amazing people, friendly locals everywhere I went. I made some amazing friends at university. And from that point, I was hooked, I guess. So as you said, after my semester, I did some backpacking throughout Indonesia and went from all the way in the tip in Aceh right through down to Sumba and Sulawesi. And I think I just fell in love with how diverse Indonesia is, how friendly the people are, and the combinations of different religions, cultures, food, and uh, clothing and dance and everything like that. So I think it's just a fascinating country. And I guess without my semester abroad, I wouldn't have learned anything about Indonesia. So yeah, like I said, it was a very transformative um, process for me. And I really got to know a lot about the ways that Australia and Indonesians can interact and build closer connections for the future.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. You travel around across Indonesia. So my next question will be, do you have any other experiences aside as a semester studying abroad in Indonesia, like kind of development project in Indonesia that you you did as part of your research or development project?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess fast forward a bit, I returned to Australia and I started working for a small little aid organization based here in Perth called Amos Australia. So they primarily work in Indonesia as well as Cambodia, but predominantly in the east of Indonesia, in Nusa Tenggara Timur and Sumba. And so I started working with them in about 2019, it would have been. And I was kind of in charge of the Indonesia projects. So I would work with communities in Sumba, primarily on small scale projects in rural villages. These were quite diverse in both complexity and design. So we had some village advocacy programs that supported villages to access Dana Desa, so the funds from the central government. And then we also had a range of projects such as clean water projects and assisting farmers to harvest crops as well. So it was a real diverse range of projects that we worked on. But it was amazing to be able to travel to Indonesia pretty frequently. I often got to go stay in the villages in rural Sumba and all the way up in Palu in Sulawesi, where I worked on projects following the horrible earthquake and tsunami there. And it was just amazing to be able to spend my nights sitting around I was going to say campfire, but sitting around having a cup of tea or coffee with the babaks and the ibus and the Kepala Desa and just talking about life in rural Indonesia and really expanding my knowledge and understanding of what it is to be living in Indonesia and kind of, yeah, getting a greater sense of what life is like there as well. So yeah, that's, I guess, what I was working on in East Indonesia. And I was with them for approximately about 3 years. I was working in that job. It was an amazing opportunity.
Oh, what you have a wealth of experience around Indonesia. Thanks, Jake, for sharing with us. So now we are moving to the next question about CAUSINDY. So what drew you to CAUSINDY and what do you hope to achieve in your new role as a CEO?
That's a good question. Well, I originally joined CAUSINDY back in 2020, I believe, during the pandemic when CAUSINDY kind of pivoted online and was doing the Pathways mentoring program. For our listeners that don't know, the Pathways program had a CAUSINDY alumni with a younger member of AYA as a mentor and mentee. And it was I believe it was about a 6-month mentorship program. I was lucky enough to be paired with our now board member, Rio. And through that time, he taught me a lot about kind of development projects, working in the Aus-Indo space. And I learned a lot of soft skills, hard skills, intercultural knowledge, and all those valuable things that can help you transition from as a young university student into a professional career in the Aus-Indo space. So I was really thankful for that. And after that, I think that really inspired me to keep working within the Oz Indo sector, and it just ignited my passion to continue working in this space. And then I was lucky enough to join the CAUSINDY team the next year to run the Pathways mentoring program with the rest of the Pathways team. And yeah, from there, we haven't really looked back. Once CAUSINDY returned to in-person conferences, I joined as the delegate officer. And now, luckily enough, I'm the incoming CEO. So as CEO, I guess there's a lot that I would love to do. Obviously, we're quite limited. Being a volunteer organization, everyone has full-time jobs. So in an ideal world, this would be my full-time job, but fortunately it's not. But going forward, I would love to see an expansion of CAUSINDY. Right now, we kind of heavily focus on the conferences. Obviously, it is our flagship event, but I would love to see CAUSINDY be a major player within the youth dialogue space. So I'd love to see us expand into running more networking nights, such as what we did earlier this month in Jakarta, and expanding into more kind of some more community in-reach activities. So engaging with the Indonesian community here in Australia and Australian community in Indonesia, and working at more grassroots level more frequently is probably where I'd like to take CAUSINDY.
Yeah. Oh, finally, what excites you most about taking on the leadership role at CAUSINDY?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, firstly, I'm really excited to be working with our team again this year. It wouldn't be possible. All this work and all the conferences wouldn't be possible without our very hardworking team of volunteers. So all of whom I can call my friends. So I'm very excited to be back and working with everyone. But for me, I think it would be this year's conference. I'm a Perth boy, born and raised, and I'm really excited to have the conference here in Perth this year. I'm really excited to showcase the city and particularly explore the very important theme of research and higher education in Perth. And yeah, I can't wait to kind of showcase the city and bring everyone together once again here in Perth.
Yeah, thank you. So now let's shift our focus to the upcoming CAUSINDY Conference 2024, Advancing Higher Education and Research Collaboration in Perth, as you mentioned. So Jake, what can delegates expect from this year's conference? Can you elaborate on the focus of advancing higher education and research collaboration?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess this year's theme will be focusing on higher education in terms of universities, research institutes that work both in Australia and Indonesia. So the ultimate goal of this year's conference is to foster improved collaborations between institutes or universities between Australia and Indonesia, and really support, I guess, up-and-coming young researchers working within that space, and to foster improved connections between our two countries. There's a lot of research going on within this space, but it's often quite hard, as you probably know, being a public health researcher as well. Doing international research, there's a lot of barriers and a lot of red tape and a lot of bureaucracy. So I think just creating improved connections and collaboration opportunities between the two countries is really important. And so I guess what we want to get out of this is to focus on the higher ed space as well as research collaborations as well.
Thank you, Jake. So for this year's conference, who is this conference open to, and how can people apply to be part of this exciting conference?
Yeah, so this year is open to Australian and Indonesians aged between 25 and 35. Our target group as a youth organisation is in that older kind of young professional age bracket. But beyond kind of the age limit and nationality limitations, there's no restrictions on who can apply or who can participate. While we do prefer individuals with experience in the professional setting, you don't need to have experience working within research or education, but just a keen interest in improving the Aus-Indo bilateral relationship. And beyond that, a keen interest in participating and learning more about the higher education and research industries. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jake. Your insights have been fantastic. Now let's answer some questions from our engaged listener from social media. So question number 1 from T.S. Sabtiani. What's the agenda of CAUSINDY conference or any other agenda?
It's a good question. So the conference will run over approximately 3.5 days. Each day will be kind of a little focusing on a sub-theme each day, but the 3.5 days will involve visits to different WA-based universities. So we've currently partnered with Murdoch University and Curtin University as well. And we'll be visiting them, listening to presentations from international researchers, as well as PhD and higher degree research students. We'll be engaging with up to 5 panel discussions we'll be having that will kind of explore different key issues within the higher education and research space. And we'll be having international guests, local guests, and national guests attending and participating in those discussions. And then there'll be a whole range of other activities, including our Engaging Future Leaders program, which brings in a whole bunch of high school students from the local area, so from Perth schools, and they'll have an opportunity to interact with our delegates and mentors and special guests and really foster that grassroots people-to-people links that we really love here at CAUSINDY. So it's a jam-packed agenda with lots of different panel talks, presentations, and social events as well. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Okay, so we are moving on to the next question from Dia KRLNA. What is the best fit criteria that will pass the selection process for CAUSINDY 2024?
Ooh. I wouldn't say there's a single best fit selection criteria. I think mostly just a true and genuine passion to advance the Australia-Indonesia bilateral relationship would be the key thing. As I said before, you don't need to have experience working in higher education or research. While it is kind of preferable, just having a very passionate interest in forging those people-to-people links is probably the best bet for your application. Yeah, and as we said, just being really passionate and eager to participate and improve the connections between our two countries would be the best. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're moving on to question number 3 from @Fitri Hiasari. How many candidates will be chosen for this program?
Ooh, that's a good question, and we don't know fully just yet. But every year it does change depending on applications and I guess where we're hosting it, the theme, and so on. Last year we had 26 delegates, so 13 from Indonesia and 13 from Australia. And we're probably going to be aiming around that number this year, but not 100% on the final numbers. But yeah, stay tuned and hopefully it'll be around that 26 in total mark.
Okay. Move on for question number from @jj.rama. Is research related to the private sector relevant for this year's conference theme?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question because it touches on something I wanted to note, and that is it doesn't need to be research or university-based research that we're focusing on. And part of the kind of aim of this conference is to improve connections both between Australia and Indonesia, but also between sectors. So between public health and medicine and public health and engineering, but also between universities and research institutes and the private sector. So we're trying to, I guess it's a big tent that we're trying to bring together. So private sector research experience is amazing. And yeah, it would be perfect to have people with that experience join us at CAUSINDY.
Yeah. Question number 5 from at MTH Natasha. How much does it cost to participate in the conference?
So the conference is free to participate in, and CAUSINDY will, I guess, endeavor to cover most of the costs for delegates to participate. We're quite unique in that we fully cover accommodation, food, and activities during the conference, and provide a stipend for travel of up to 75% of travel costs. So ideally, almost all of the costs are covered. There's no fee to apply. There's no fee to participate. So yeah, it's almost fully covered. And we hope that kind of makes it a bit more accessible for applicants to apply and have the chance to experience the wonderful benefits of a CAUSINDY conference.
Yeah. Okay. Move on to question number 6 from at Anastasia VVAS. How do you juggle running a conference with your full-time job or life?
That's a good question. It can be tough at times. Obviously, everyone in the team is either studying full-time or working full-time jobs, in addition to trying to organize a conference. It can be difficult, but I guess it's just a matter of communication and teamwork. We have an amazing crew at CAUSINDY, and all it takes is just a quick message to the group saying, "Hey guys, I'm flat out of work. Are you guys able to cover this?" So it's just a matter of being communicative and letting everyone know when you're swamped and when you can get to stuff. Yeah, just a matter of teamwork, really. It helps that we're all really passionate about the Australia-Indonesia bilateral relationship and improving connections. And it also really helps that we all are good friends as well. So it makes the work a bit easier and a bit more fun. But yeah, it can be a lot to juggle at times, but it's definitely worth it in the end.
So question number 7 from at Stewart_123. Any chance CAUSINDY will extend the registration period beyond September 27?
Yeah, that's highly likely. So we don't have an official date, but it will probably be extended in the next couple of days. But stay tuned to the CAUSINDY social media and you'll find out all about the extension process and delegate selection process as well. But yes, probably likely.
Yeah. And final question from our followers on social media. It's from at Nora Nisa. When is the announcement of the selected delegates?
So the announcement will be probably about mid-October. We need time to obviously go through the selection process and interview shortlisted candidates, but that will probably be a ongoing process. So yeah, with the extension of the deadline, we're probably looking at around mid-October for the announcement.
Okay. Thank you, Jake. So wrapping things up, Jake, the final question for today are, what are your expectations for the impact of the conference on the future Australia-Indonesia relation and higher education collaboration?
Ooh, well, it's a big question. At the end of the day, we just hope that CAUSINDY can make a difference in the Aussie-Indo bilateral relationship. We're all about, I guess, creating those connections between young emerging leaders. I think most of our team members are a good example where we engaged with CAUSINDY briefly, and now years later, we're still involved, still engaged in the Aussie-Indo space, and we're forging those connections into the future. in terms of impact on the higher education and research space, hopefully we act as a bit of a catalyst to foster improved collaborations between Australian and Indonesian universities and research institutes, and create those connections between researchers or organizations, which can then evolve into future research projects and PhD theses and everything like that. So while it's hard to make a dent in such a big industry, we're really excited about just forging those connections and improving the collaborations between different institutes between our two countries.
Well, folks, that brings us to the end of this deep dive into the incredible 2024 Perth Conference. We hope you enjoy this special episode with Jake Turvey and gain some valuable insight. For those inspired by our discussion and eager to be part of CAUSINDY 2024, mark your calendars and register as a delegate. We'd love to have you join us. In the meantime, stay connected with CAUSINDY. Visit our website at www.causindy.org and follow us on social media at CAUSINDY. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, sampai jumpa.